We've been talking about a lot of negative topics lately, especially today, so I figured let's throw in an actually positive topic. But this one's not around America. This is not actually an American political topic. I'm going to be talking about something that's happened abroad. Abroad. Particularly, more specifically, in Japan. You see, apparently up until just a couple days ago, in order to change your gender on your official licensing and other, documentation and paperwork in Japan, you had to have had a surgery that, physically changed. You had to have gotten, bottom surgery or top surgery, what have you, in order to verify your gender change for your paperwork in Japan. However, that has just been ruled unconstitutional. So, requiring that is no longer necessary and no longer allowed. It is now your constitutional right to have your gender changed, if you identify that way, on your government paperwork in Japan. A court has said that a law requiring surgery to switch genders on a family registry is unconstitutional, as it made a ruling on a case involving a transgender man in central Japan, his lawyers said Thursday. The Hamamatsu? I'm sorry, I can't. Japanese is a hard language for English speakers to learn. Branch of the Shizuoka Family Court delivered the family's first judgment on a challenge to the ruler after the man, Gen Suzuki, filed a request in 2021 seeking to change his gender without sex reassignment surgery. The decision Wednesday by the Central Japan Court allows Suzuki, 48 years old, to be listed as a man in his family registry without undergoing an operation to remove reproductive capacity. He has undergone hormonal therapy and surgically removed his breast tissue, but believes a sex reassignment operation would have a serious impact on his physical and mental health. Wait, hold on. He's a trans man, so I'm gonna be real. I don't know if phalloplasty technology is good enough that, that's the way to go. I've never seen the results of a phalloplasty before, but I don't know if we're there yet. Are we there yet? Because I can understand why a trans guy would be like, I'm gonna wait a while on the dick surgery. So Xanderhall, when is Japan going to pay reparations to the harmed people who, for decades, have been required to be sterilized, just like Sweden did, 5 fucking years ago? Excuse me? Japan sterilization. You've opened my eyes to a new thing, Mogminer. Japan court... Oh, this is 4 hours ago. Japan court rules against mandatory gender sterilization. Yeah, that's what this was. Yeah, no, that is this story. They were requiring mandatory sterilization for trans people to get their stuff changed. So that's what's changed now. This is a fantastic... they were requiring you to get sterilized as a trans person in order to get your shit changed. And some trans people want to go through surgeries that would make them sterile and not able to reproduce, but many don't, and requiring it is fucked up. Allow trans people to do however little or however much procedure as they want to, but they owned up to it 5 years ago. Sweden made the same mistake. Compulsory sterilization in Sweden were sterilizations which were carried out in Sweden without a valid consent of the subject during the years 1906 and 1975. That is up until very recently and for a very long time. On eugenic, medical, and social grounds, between 1972 and 2013, sterilization was also a condition for gender reassignment surgery up until 2013. And it was a condition you had to meet in order to get gender reassignment. In 1922, the State Institute of Racial Biology was founded in Uppsala? In the 1930s, a law was passed that allowed mass sterilization. The stated rationale behind the legislation was to prevent sterilization from becoming a contraceptive method in the hands of the individual. Another law passed in 1941 was more far-reaching and stated 3 broad grounds on which sterilization could be carried out. Medical, if a pregnancy could pose a risk to life or good health of a woman with a chronic illness or permanently weakened constitution. Eugenic, which allowing sterilizing people considered insane or with severe illness or with a physical disability so that these traits are not passed on to the offspring. So you just eugenics. Cool. Very good. So you just straight up openly doing eugenics. They literally called it eugenic. Social, which allows sterilizing people deemed unsuitable to foster a child due to mental illness, being feeble-minded, or having an antisocial lifestyle. Thank you for telling me about this, Mogminer. I did not know. Well, back to the good news, because I kind of wanted to make this a more positive segment. I really appreciate you telling me about that, though, Mogminer. Like, seriously, that's a good little detail to throw into this segment. It's very relevant. I do want to try to keep this segment a little more positive, but this ruling is fantastic news. This is from the top branch of Japan's Supreme Court. The law permits those diagnosed with GID, when gender identity differs from the sex assigned at birth, aged 18 and over, to change the gender on their family register if they meet a list of criteria. That criteria include being unmarried. Ooh. That's not good. I don't like that. Being unmarried, being sterilized or infertile, and having genitals that resembled those of the desired gender. LGBTQ rights activists argue the law's strict conditions essentially require costly and invasive SRS, which is inaccessible for many trans people, rendering them unable to legally affirm their gender. Oh, I believe this is from prior. My bad. Yes, this is from prior when that got pulled back. So that was what it... So it also included you had to be unmarried. They also pulled that back, I believe. This is from prior. This is from prior it getting pulled back. I'm reading... an excerpt from a different article that came out a few months ago. Yeah, and also, to require this is insane because sexual reassignment surgery is, like, really expensive. Olive Bite says it's, like, $30K, but I don't know how much it would go for in Japan, right? There's no cost here in Sweden. Sweden has some things that they're doing right. Sweden's doing some stuff right, but there's definitely some other stuff Sweden's doing very not right. I say this as an American, Mogminer. Listen, you gotta understand that, like, if I, was walking through my hallway, broke my leg, and had to call an ambulance to get taken to the hospital and get my broken leg dealt with, I would have a multi-$1,000 bill handed to me at the end of it all. And my insurance would pay for some of it. And I'm no longer on my parents' insurance in 2 years. I have to start paying for my own insurance, or I have to pay that kind of shit out of pocket in 2 years when I turn 26. Did Biden increase it to 28? I think Biden might have increased it to like 28 or 27 or something like that. I think Biden like recently upped it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I had a knife fight with a turkey back in 2020. Holy shit. I was out of pocket to the tune of $40 for 19 stitches in my left forearm. I get it. This many stitches cost me $2,500. My insurance paid for most of it, at least. But, yeah. American insurance is, no bueno. Like, the premiums are high, and what they actually cover isn't very good. That doesn't mean I can't be bitter that Sweden is decades behind the curve when it comes to gender-affirming surgery. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something worth being upset about. Although I will say, I think the Swedish criminal justice system is pretty good. You guys got that going for you. I may be mixing you up with Finland, but I'm pretty sure all the Nordic countries up there in the cold places have pretty good criminal justice systems and low recidivism. And low crime to go along with it. Sure it does, yeah. I'm gonna be honest, please don't hate me for this, Mogminer, but all of like Sweden, Norway, Finland, like that jumble of northern countries, Nordic countries, to me, like when I think of it, I can't like place any of them geographically because I've never visited them. It's the same way with any state here in America I've never visited. So I basically just imagine the map of the God of War sequel games, the new games, whenever I think of those regions of the world, pretty much. So I just think of it as, you know, the map of God of War. The Nordic people are the happiest in the world on average. Imagine if they had sunlight, how happy they'd be. Like, on top of all the other things. Map-wise, you have Denmark at the bottom, Sweden to the north, Norway to the west, and Finland to the east. Finland's not real. Finland's not real. You can't fool me. You can't trick me, Mogminer.